Hey everyone, it's Stephen here, and I'm bringing you a quick review of Christian Dior's Fahrenheit Parfum, which was released in 2014. Excuse the headphones, I found this a better way to record the quality of my voice as opposed to using my phone's microphone. So yep, this is a flanker to the original Fahrenheit, which was released back in like 1988. So this came several years later, and since that time there's been many flankers of Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit's one of Dior's most popular fragrances, and they just spun off many flankers. So even though this is a parfum, I don't think that it's a parfum concentration. I don't know, it doesn't really say, but I think it's an EDP. There's brief similarities in here to the original, however it's a much darker scent, which I'll go into in a bit. There's a couple of kind of common notes between the two, and the overall feel of the fragrance is quite similar to the original, but then more of a much heavier and darker aspect of it. I find the original Fahrenheit is quite light and quite refreshing, even though like Fahrenheit has that distinctive gas or petrol smell at the start. You know, it's not really prominent here. Right, so the main things in here is once you spray it on, you're greeted with it's an absolutely beautiful opening note in here, and it opens up with a strong a strong burst of violet leaf. And I find that it's quite different in there to how it is in the original Fahrenheit. So in here it feels a bit more greener and somehow darker. Like, I'm not sure how violet leaf itself could be darker, but the difference between this and how it smells in Fahrenheit is different, you know. It's quite interesting. So there's also notes here of licorice, which gives it a bit of an interesting twist. I guess licorice, you know, quite sharp, so that goes in contrast with the floral aspect, but they do combine very well. There's also a prominent note of vanilla in here, and to be honest, I'm never a fan of vanilla. I find that as a note, it just doesn't work for me. However, this is one of the few exceptions to that, because the vanilla here is really well done. It lends, again, even more sweetness to the scent, which I find is, the scent is just very sweet overall. When you first spray it on, you are hit with this kind of almost nauseating sweetness, I must say. When I first had this fragrance, I thought it was amazing at the start, but now with subsequent wearings, it's just a little too much for me. I find the opening is a bit too intense. To me, where this fragrance really shines is in its dry down. So you get a suede note, and there's also a booziness that runs through here. I say booziness, but I mean there's a rum accord. It doesn't really give itself a boozy aspect. Again, rum can be a bit sort of astringent, but I don't really get that in here. But it gives a more sweet impact. So the kind of notes like licorice and vanilla, suede, which can be, you know, it's not as rough and dark as leather, which is odd because even though it's a darker scent, in Fahrenheit the leather is quite rugged, but I find in here it's a much more sweet, even though it's overall a darker scent. So it's quite interesting in that regard. But yeah, when it dries down, the sweetness does go, thankfully, and you are left with this very long-lasting fragrance that just, it doesn't project too much once it's gone past maybe 2 hours. However, the longevity is really good. I'm looking at 10 hours on my skin easily. And it's very smooth and just, I wouldn't say subtle, but yeah, it's very smooth, refined, and just really nice. Personally, I don't think I like going through the top notes in order to get to the dry down. The dry down is really good, but to me, I would rather wear something else as opposed to this. So it comes down to personal choice. I realize this is a great great quality fragrance. I'm not sure of the retail price. I think it's £80 for like 75 ml, but it's really high quality. And yeah, this is not a negative review. It's a great scent. It's not for me. I'm going to rate this a 7 out of 10 because I appreciate the quality of this in here, and it's an excellent fragrance for what you're buying. It's just whether it's kind of suited for you. So scent-wise, I'm going to give it a 7. Personally, it's too sweet, but the high quality kind of kicks it up a notch, and the smooth and classy feel throughout is just very good. So the longevity is really good. Being a parfum, it's not, an eau de parfum, it's not the strongest in the sense of projection, so I think maybe 2 to 3 hours of decent projection and then it dries down. But overall, the longevity is very good. So overall, I'm rating this a 7 out of 10. So that was my review, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and see you in the next one.